Hey folks, how we doing? Welcome to Wes Explains Best. Today we're going to be doing a Kuta software worksheet tutorial on absolute value inequalities. Let's go ahead and dive right in. It says here to solve each inequality and graph its solution. Now, there's kind of like a multi-step process. I'm going to break this down for you. But the first step, step one, is we need to get the absolute value by itself. I'll say alone. Okay? So we need to get it by itself. So if you look at most of these have the absolute value by itself. What do I mean? Well, you'll see that, oops, not that one. You'll see that they're on one side of the inequality, like these ones, okay? These ones, however, are not. So take a look at this. We have the absolute value right here, okay, but it's not by itself on one side of the inequality. We have this -3 hanging on. So this one is not a case where it's by itself. What else? We have this one not by itself because it has a +2, -2, whatever it is. Also, anything like this, if there's a 9 being multiplied out in front, that's not by itself. This one's got multiple, okay? So I just want to give you a heads up that those are cases where it's not by itself, where if you have an inequality, inequality, and then you have absolute value on one side, and it's only an absolute value, then you're good to go, okay? So that's our first step, is to make sure that it's by itself. So we're going to just start with number 1. We'll keep it basic, and we'll move on to step 2. So step 2, once you get the absolute value by itself, we want to split the inequality in two. Okay. What do I mean by that? Well, an absolute value is talking about the distance from 0. So as you can tell, there's two different distances we can go. We can go negative and positive. Okay? Case in point, if we have 3 and we take the absolute value, we get 3. If we take the absolute value of -3, we also get 3. So there's two different directions we can go in. Let's apply this further. We can split this problem into 2. We had 6n, okay, less than or equal to 18. That's one problem, okay, but we can get rid of the absolute value now. And then we have 6n is less than or equal to -18. Remember how we can go to -18? Now here's the issue. Oh, just how we did up there, by the way. Here's the issue. If we have a negative sign, what does that usually mean about our inequality? Well, that means we need to flip the sign. So this needs to be flipped. Okay, if you put a negative, once you split it, you have to flip the sign. So that's going to be step 3. It's kind of like a step 2.5, but you get my point. Okay, so step 3, flip inequality of negative branch. Let's call that a branch. I like that. Negative branch. So we have 2 branches here. Look at this branch, and we got this branch. Okay, one branch is clearly better than the okay, you get the point. So we're going to divide now. After this, we have it flipped. We're ready to proceed. We have step 4, and that is to solve for the variable. This is just like your inequality solving here. You try to get the variable by itself. Just keep in mind there's a note. Here's the note. See star. You have to flip the sign again. Flip sign if you divide or multiply. That's a multiply by a negative. Keep that in the back of your head. So we're going to apply that if it comes around, but otherwise we're not going to worry about it. Let's go ahead and keep going. So we divide both sides by 6 on this one on the left. Running out of room already. So we get n is less than or equal to 3. Now we go over to this guy and we say, okay, we have 6n greater than or equal to -18 divided by 6, just like I did in the other one. We didn't divide by negative, so we get n is greater than or equal to -3. Now we're going to graph these. First thing we do is we look for -3 and 3 on the graph. So here's +3, boom, right there. Okay, and I'm just going to put a dot to locate it just for you guys, okay? Now, if I'm talking about the values less than 3, I'm talking about to the left. Less than is to the left. So I'm talking about the values less than 3. And now, can it be equal to? Survey says yes. Yes, it can. If it's that, we're not going to use a solid dot like we did before. We're going to use a bracket. So the bracket's going to indicate that it can include 3. Okay, so actually, yeah. So for now, I'm going to use this color for blue, and then I'm going to the left. Now I'm not gonna keep going all the way to the left yet because I want to see where my other one goes. Okay. Now let's look at my other one. I'm going to use this pink color for this one. So I have n is greater than or equal to -3. So I'm going to go to -3. Now if I'm talking about greater than is to the right. So that's greater is to the right. All the values that are bigger than -3. So greater than is to the right. It can be equal to, so I'm going to use a bracket, and I'm going to go to the right. Now, I have it started just so you can see that if we keep going, we are going to overlap here. That's what we're looking for. With these, we're looking for the possible values that satisfy both. So if you have an inequality that's less than, like this, with the absolute value on the left side, then it's going to have some overlap, and our solution is going to be in there. So if I were to redraw this a little bit more neat, it's going to look like this. So I got to go like this, I go like this, and it's all the values in between, okay? All right, let's do another example. I want to find one that's not by itself. Here we go, number 6. Pretty straightforward. You know what, maybe I should do a tougher one. Let's go down to the second page and find one that's a little tougher. I'm looking for one specifically. Here we go. Number 2, or 21. I saw the 2, sorry. Okay, so we have a lot going on here. First step, like we said. Oh, did I finish off the step? Step 4, solve for variable. Step 5, graph. Sorry, let's be thorough here. Not solve, graph. Okay, there we go. Now let's go down to here, and we said that we're going to solve for the absolute value, get it by itself first. We have a lot going on, so we're just going to use order. Imagine that this was like this. It's the same principle. Okay, we want to move the 1 over, divide by 2, and then we're going to have the absolute value, this guy, by itself. Okay, so that's the same principle here. So we're going to add 1 first to both sides. Add 1, add 1. We get 74 is greater than, or less than, sorry, 2 times the absolute value of 10b plus 7. Now I'm going to divide by 2. You can do that. Okay, and it doesn't change anything with the absolute value. So the 2's cancel. We get 10b. Now we have it by itself. The absolute value is greater than, what's that, 37? 37. Okay, 37. Now we have it by itself. We are ready to split it. Let me move this up, and we're going to split this guy up into 2 branches. We're going to do pink again, and we'll do green. Do we want to use green, though? How about we use light blue? There we go. Okay. We'll split this up. Let's make the 10b plus 7, okay? And we'll leave it positive for 1. Keep the sign how it is. Then we do 10b plus 7. But now we need to make it negative 37. Remember, if you make it negative 37, you have to go like that. And again, the reason why we do that is because this could be positive or negative 37, and it would go to positive 37. So that's why you make it. That's why we make it 37 and negative 37, but we have to flip the sign. Flip the sign. Okay, let's go ahead and start with our, let's give some love to the negative. Okay, so let's start there. We're going to subtract 7 to both sides first. We get 10b, rough one. So we get 10b is less than, and we get what, negative 44? Talk about gross. Okay. So we divide by 10, we get b is less than negative 44 over 10. Can I put this in decimal form? I mean, hopefully you guys know that you divide by 10, you just move the decimal over. So this is negative 4.4. This should help you, okay. Now we're going to go over here to this guy on the left. This guy should be a little bit nicer. We get 10b is greater than 30. Divide by 10, divide by 10. We're not dividing or multiplying either one of these by negative. So we get b is greater than 3. Okay, we're going to be using parentheses here because it's greater than, not equal to, so we're going to be using parentheses. So let's do the pink one first. So we have b is greater than 3. That's this. b is greater than 3. Okay, and then we're talking about b is less than negative 4.4. So we're going to go to 4.4 here. We're going to talk about the values less than that. Now, notice a key distinction here. If you have an absolute value greater than a value, you're going to get a graph where it goes in two different directions. This is like an OR graph, okay? An AND graph would never be like this, okay? Or I guess technically you could consider this AND. So kind of disregard what I just said, but notice how we're going to have a graph going in two different directions. Where anytime you have a value where it's absolute value less than a number, you're going to have an overlap and it's going to be in between values, okay? So that's an important distinction there. And so just keep in mind, so this one you're going to have in between, in between, in between. Split, you're going to have it going in opposite directions unless you divide. Oh, in this case you're not. Okay, so hopefully you guys get an idea of what to do with this one. Again, you just want to do reverse order of operations. Let me do one more, like making it an easy one, I suppose. So for this one, we're just going to add 3 to both sides to start. 8 greater x minus 4. Okay, and now we split. We split. We get x minus 4 less than 8. X minus 4 greater than negative 8. I flip the sign. I add 4 to both sides. I get x is less than 12. I add 4 to both sides. I get x is greater than negative 4. It's not equal to, so I'm going to have parenthesis here. I'm going to have parenthesis here, and it's all the values in between. So if I were to graph both of them separately, it would have some overlap. So there you go. I did 3 problems for you. One was a pretty tough one, gave you some step-by-step process. Hopefully this made it a little bit more helpful for you. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you next time on Wes Explains Best.